threads of fire, mysticism, Christianity, and the long shadow of secrecy. Picture a candlelit cell in the 4th century Egyptian desert, where a monk listens for the still, small voice. Fast forward to a smoky London parlor in 1905, where scholars debate the mystical element in religion, while down the street, in a private lodge, brothers conduct rituals saturated with Christian symbols, crosses, Grail lore, angelic hierarchies. Somewhere in Rome, a Vatican document is being drafted warning the faithful against secret oaths and occult entanglements. These scenes aren't contradictions so much as different threads from the same tapestry. When we follow them, we discover how tightly mysticism and Christianity have been interwoven and how their fringes brush the occult, secret societies, political power, and the recurring anxiety of the end times. What does it all mean? I mean, everything going on in the world, all the history building up until today, what does it really mean? The Christian heartbeat of mysticism, as some would put it. You know, some of this is very interesting stuff. Mysticism in the Christian tradition isn't a novelty or a fringe trend. It's the tradition's contemplative heartbeat. The core claim is steady. Union with God is possible. Not as a theory, but as a lived encounter. In the 19th and 20th century, the heritage was rediscovered, analyzed, and for some, secularized. You know, I've read many books from the late 1800s and the early 1900s, and I will say that it does seem that a lot of it was taught hand in hand, and like they quoted scriptures. There's so much there that they seem to have just something changed, something shifted, right? We'll get into that more and more as we go forward on this channel. Evelyn Underhill, Mysticism 1911, she famously called mysticism the art of the union with reality, mapping stages of awakening, purgation, illumination, and union. Underhill stood within the Christian orbit while dialoguing with a wide range of traditions. William James, Verities of the Religious Experience, 1902. James described the marks of mystical states. And there's people like Manly P. Hall, and we can go into all the writings about Hermes and Trismegistus, and then we got the Initiative of the Flames, and we got the Kabbalion, and we got just so much in the removed books of the Bible. These writers didn't invent mysticism, they dusted off its contours for late modern ears. Their work shows how Christianity's mystical core and modern categories, psychologically, and then where the borders blur, the mysticism and occultism intertwining, and kind of, you know, where does that idea come from? Well, first, a distinction. Christian mysticism seeks communion with the triune God through grace, prayer, sacrament, and transformation of life. The occult, by contrast, generally names hidden arts, esoteric knowledge, and ritual techniques that aim at power, perception, and spiritual contact outside the mainstream religions and the religious channels. That said, the borders have often blurred, especially in the 19th and early 20th centuries. And I mean, look at fast forward to today, it is a complete disaster. Everything is just completely skewed, and I mean, it's pretty bad. I don't really have to tell you But I think what Christ was discussing with the disciples and such, I think that this is all rooted in it, and then people took it and ran with it, and a hunger for the sublime and symbolic revived interest in Kabbalah, including Christian Kabbalah, alchemy, and geology, and much more. Much of this borrowed Christian imagery. Grail cross, angels, the lost word, but reframed it as esoteric philosophy. You know, then we have the secret societies, and then just like church denominations, there's all different sects or fraternities or different versions of them, whatever. But just to speak of the main one, Freemasonry, a broad umbrella with deistic and explicitly Christian rites, influential in civic life and culture. The Catholic Church repeatedly condemned Masonic membership. And we can, on and on and on, and we can go into the Jesuits and all of this, but they were definitely very much against it, and they were very intolerant. They called it as incompatible with Catholic allegiance and sacred norms, and then and then you find that the Pope. There's just so much controversy there. Rosicrucianism is another one. Allegorical Christian esoteric currents inspired by 17th century manifestos revived in the 19th century. Then you have the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, founded 1888. A syncretic esoteric order knitting together Kabbalah, Christian symbolism, and ceremonial magic and classical hermeticism. I had to spit that out. Some members wrote devoutly about the Eucharist and Christian mysticism while still working in occult frameworks. Let's not forget stuff like the Knights Templar and the Jesuits and others like that. They all follow under the umbrella, really, of the Freemasons, Illuminati. All of it is all under Jewish mysticism. Just all of it intertwines together. You have the modern day Skull and Bones, and there's some others, and you have the traces of it all through Hollywood and the government and the music industry, and we've come to a point now, to where for a long time many people were talking about this and discussing it, and long before YouTube and everything was even existent, people used to have to try to get the word out, and then have seminars and such at hotels and conferences and at conference halls and get together that way, and then through cassette tapes and books and pamphlets and writings and it's definitely come to a point now to where, with the technology being the way it is, even though it's a system that's being built, in my opinion, to enslave us and control us and monitor us, at the same time, it's also the key that is getting out the word and getting more of the world to understand some of the darker parts of our society that exist, and the deeper truths of reality and everything that surrounds us, and how it's not quite what it seems, and there's a lot of hidden parts that are kept from humanity, and there's key people that you might think are necessarily good people that are sometimes actually horrible people that are doing horrible things to hide truths from humanity. And I mean, there's so much gray area here, and so ultimately, as I look at what's going on in the world, and I'm a devout Christian who grew up with the scriptures, and then, I've battled with things over the years, and then watching what's going on in the last 8 years to 10 years, watching them kill Charlie, watching all this stuff play out in front of us, even all the way up to the illegals here getting the food stamps and all the money, and now they got the government shut down, and it's just so much. I can't sit here and just watch it all anymore. We have to do something. We have to find truth. And I intend to do just that. And this channel and my page is all about sharing everything that I find and I think and what I discover along that journey. I stand firmly on my faith, and the deeper I go down these rabbit holes, the more my faith is confirmed, for sure.